This is iRacing.
The beautiful green wilderness of the Pacific Northwest makes for a wonderful backdrop, but drivers won't have time to check out the scenery here in Portland as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the iRacing and the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is former driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Joey, despite a somewhat simple-looking layout, the races I've called here have almost always been exciting.
It is an incredibly fast racetrack, a racetrack that I grew up and learned how to race on, so I've got a ton of real-world knowledge here. I can't wait to see how these vintage formula machines handle this incredibly high-speed racetrack.
Well, in case any of our viewers aren't as familiar with Portland, let's head to our track guide to find out more. Welcome to Portland International Raceway, located on the north side of Portland, Oregon, and right next to the Columbia River. The track is known as the premier racing circuit in the Pacific Northwest. It's by no means a very long circuit, with its 2 layouts clocking in just shy of 2 miles, or just over 3 kilometers in length. Depending on which one you choose, it has 9 or 12 corners to navigate over the lap. In the chicane version, the Shelton chicane absolutely smacks you in the face and presents the best passing opportunity. But watch out on lap 1, because these bends are notorious for causing messy pileups. Turns 4, 5, and 6 will take you on a sweeping ride, but they spit you out into the extremely important turn 7. This hairpin does offer chances to pass if you're sneaky, but it's more notable for the fact it leads onto the long backstretch. Failing to get a good exit out of there will leave you incredibly vulnerable. This is where the track reveals some of its roots as a street course, with this curved stretch formerly being Vanport Road. Hug that wall on the right because you're going to need every inch of track on your way into the chicane of 10 and 11. This switchback catches out many drivers of all skill levels due to its speed and the fact it requires you to set up for the final turn pretty much immediately. Make sure not to get too much wheel spin as you ease back onto the pit straight and you've finished a lap. With IMSA, SCCA, IndyCar, Formula E, and NASCAR all having raced here, there's an impressive variety of motorsports disciplines in its history. Considering no other major racing tracks are remotely close by, PIR is king of the roost in the Northwest, and one loved by fans across the country. Well, I'm glad we've got you here, Joey, because I know you've got a lot of experience at this track.
Yeah, I grew up learning how to race at this place, from spec Miatas all the way up into some higher horsepower machinery, but we are located at Portland International Raceway, right on the border of Washington State and Oregon State there. And it is a 12-turn facility. 1.93 miles is what we are going to be racing here with the no chicane format. I know that it does only say 9 turns once these numbers pop up, but chicane on the front straight is always counted as 1, 2, and 3. That means turn number 4, a big brake zone off of the end of the front straightaway here, good passing opportunity. But I'm actually looking towards the top side of the racetrack where it's labeled turn number 4. We're going to be calling it turn 7 all day. It's a little bit of a doozy corner, and if you exit the prior left-hander kind of on the back foot, it definitely provides some opportunities to kind of slide down the inside there. And then the back straightaway, you see that it's curved, it's arced to the right, and it feeds into what is an incredibly high-speed S section. But our final turn, that right-hander going out onto the front straightaway, you better get down a couple gears, get that car slowed down, or else you're going to end up in driver's left wall.
And you definitely want to get that run down the main straight to turn one. It's going to be critical out there today. Championship well underway, but interestingly, despite missing out on the title last season, Togo Hisada seems to have a good hold on things right now, but he's not fully clear. Taylor Lane sitting back in second is 31 points behind, and that is with a couple poor showings out there. But Togo, of course, was missing in the first round, so they're both going to be helped out by the drop points later on in the season. Shady Ahmad with an excellent season, up there in third, actually ahead of many-time champion Gernot Friesche, who I have no doubt is going to start to climb up the order here the more he shows up. But we'll watch and see whether or not he can manage anything here today, as he is out on the track. But from there, as usual, it gets a little bit tighter farther down the order. Big battle between Masita, Berry, Gallus, and Pai for that fifth position. Watch for them squabbling for valuable points here today. That's the F1 driver standings. Let's take a look at the F2 standings now.
Right now, it is Keith Herner leading the way in that F2 drivers' points standings, a narrow 8 points ahead of Jeanette here in that second place position. Then you see a little bit of a gap before the next fight between Klessig and Dixon there in third and fourth. And then what is fifth place is tied between Mark Winfield and Sherman Samari. Also include Steinbild, Grinnan, Moreland, and Summers inside the top 10. And I also notice a special one that's just outside the top 10 that hopefully is watching today, Barry West. He's in 11th.
Wishing Barry the best. Apparently he's been having some health problems lately, so hope we'll see you back soon, buddy, if you are watching. In the meantime, we have our team's championship as well. And much like you can see in the real world, McLaren is leading, but it is very tight between themselves and Tyrrell. Herner, both the Herners, rather, I should say, on Team McLaren, while Tyrrell sees Summer and Moreland providing the points there. Williams, about 47 points back. They got some work to do, but it's early in the season. They could claw that back. They need to watch a rear guard because Team Lotus is still sitting back there behind them by only 8 points difference. So that could be a change in position after today. But there's your top runners here in the Classic Teams Championship. Why don't we educate the viewers on what kind of race we have in store, though, Joey?
We are here at Portland International Raceway. Everybody is going to be doing 38 laps around this place for, call it, what is a little bit before halfway through the season, round 5 of 12. The cars are doing 57 seconds in terms of their lap time out here. So yes, 38 laps is what we're going to be doing. Open setups, and if you're interested in what you see here, go and join the community, join the Discord page. They hand out those fast setups if you're curious about it. No spare cars, so that means if you pick up any damage, you got to deal with it out there. And then talking about the incident points, a drive-through penalty at 17 incident points, a disqualification at 25 incident points. Joe, there's tons of runoff, tons of grass out here at Portland. I'd be surprised if we see a lot of DNFs today.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same on that. In fact, we had a good inkling on that with the Lotus 49s yesterday. Completely different car, obviously, but gave us a feel for what to expect since it was the same layout as we see here today. In the last bit of qualifying, Carter Lundy on the provisional pole, but actually just saw Dylan Freckleton just now jump up into second, less than a tenth behind Carter Lundy. And this is Carter's first race of this season. So will his lack of experience compared to the others around him have an effect, or will his 6,000 plus I rating help him take that to a victory?
I think Portland is a relatively easy circuit to kind of pick up and understand. So if you're going to kind of jump into the deep end of the pool here with the top split of the 79s, I don't see that this is certainly a bad option out there, as it looks like we officially are wrapped up with qualifying. I did see that Olenchik also slipped his way inside the top 10 in those closing stages.
That's a name we haven't heard a whole lot lately, so glad to see. No, excuse me, that's Christoph Olenek. I was thinking of a different Olenek out there. Apologies. Anyways, let's go through the starting order. As I mentioned, Lundy on the pole. Freckleton, late in the qualifying, manages to take a front row start as Togo Hisada only good enough for third today, but can he maybe charge forward? Timothy Reed will start fourth as Pepe Fuentes fifth and Julius Mueller in P6. James Berry is seventh today, while Farron Grau returns. Usually see him over in the IMSA Vintage Series. He'll start eighth. Christoph Olenek, as we mentioned, starting ninth. Gernot Friesche, shockingly, down in 10th today.
We'll see how he's able to deal with that. And then in 11th is Jack Wells, that number 14 car. Andrew Petty going to be lined up next to him in 12th. JDS going to be starting from 13th spot with Karthik Pai lined up next to him in 14th. Josh Brain, 15th. Gabri Martinez, 16th. Daniel Mosteler, 17th. Seamus Power, 18th. Shady Ahmad, 19th. And Javier Mascara rounding out your top 20.
Bjorn Ackerman starts in the 21st spot for this one. Then it's Jamie Wilson next, MP22. Taylor Lane starting 23rd. Sees Mickey Friesen 24th today. Quarter century mark goes to Aaron Blair. Outside's going to be Daniel Gallus. Then it is Nick Thyssen in 27th. A bit low down for him. Ryan Turcotte, 28th. Alexander McTay in 29th. Ian Haycock's 30th. And then Challoner and Weaver going to be the last two. Gary Weaver, one of our fellow broadcasters out there competing. So glad to see him make top split, as this should be a pretty full field for such a short lap. And it looks like we are ready to go as the engines start to rev and the lights come up here for round 5. Who is going to be first down into turn 1? It's a very slow start for Lundy, and there goes Freckleton up to the lead before they would have even gotten to the chicane if they ran that version. Togo Hisada capitalizes as well, and he moves up into P2. And it's contact there is Lundy is going to get into the side of another car next to him. Both of them go off at turn 4.
I believe that's Timothy Reed, who is on the outside, who made contact with Lundy, and then there was a third car off as well. I'm not sure who that was, but a couple cars definitely falling down the order early. It was a great start from Togo Hisada, and here you see the number 11 car making a slide to the inside. That's Jack David Spickett making a move going out onto the back straightaway.
And that car we saw going wide at 7, that was Gernot Friesche. He's slipping way, way back. He's down to 27th. It's been a nightmare start for him. I don't think we're going to see him add to his tally of wins today, as Jack Wells in a fierce battle here, discovering the difficulty of the chicane of 11 and 12. Back onto the main straight, we fly down towards the first corner once again.
Jack was definitely on the back foot as we switch over to the other Jack David Spickett here in this Pepsi machine. He is using the slipstream as 3 wide directly in front of him. Thankfully, they got that sorted out. That was a battle between Olenek, Mueller, and Barry that was super heated.
Well, this is a bit more of a spicy start than I anticipated to this race, as Jack is still working hard on trying to fend or attack on Farron Grau, and it looks like it's not quite going to work out, or will he get the over-under? Track gives a little bit of a weave here onto this curved backstretch. He gets the toe coming down to the chicane at the end of the back straightaway, and he's thinking about it. Is he brave enough? Yes, he is. He sends it in deep, and he's through.
That was a forceful move going into what is the 10-11 high-speed chicane off of the end of the back straightaway there, but certainly seems like Jack David Spickett has the confidence, has the grip in his machine to be able to pull that one off. As up front, Togo Hisada now taking a look around the outside of Dylan Freckleton. He makes the move in the brake zone. New leader, number 2 car.
Togo Hisada finds an excellent opportunity, despite his qualifying not putting him fastest, to maybe steal another win in this championship and help him become a double Lotus champion. He's already got multiple over in the Lotus 49. He's still chasing that for the first time here in the 79s, but Dylan Freckleton is still close behind, and Dylan will no doubt want to add to his slightly smaller tally of wins compared to Hisada.
And you know, Joe, while it's still early in the race and these cars are on full fuel, I did do a couple practice laps earlier this week, and I gotta say that my time's pretty comparable to the front. I think I could race for wins with these guys.
We'll let you live in that world in your head, but in the meantime, Dylan Freckleton still running while We've got Jack David Spickett with a good run on Mueller. Mueller does not defend. He'll leave the door wide open, coming down into 4, and that allows Jack to move up to 6th.
Oh, and unfortunately, Mueller almost got into the grass in that, call it turn 4 complex, but thankfully did not get all the way out there. I think we've got a replay here from some stuff that happened on the start. So this is Timothy Reed. He made an excellent launch. He's going to go up to the side of Lundy here, and let's see exactly what happened. This kind of gets a little narrow right here. Joe, that's a tough one. I mean, you could argue that Lundy probably didn't need to move over to the racing line where Timothy Reed was, but that's armchair quarterbacking it.
Yeah, and it felt like maybe just a hint of netcode in it, too,
yes,
between them. So I think that was just bad luck for both of them in the situation. Meanwhile, Karthik Pai back here looking to try and crack into the top 10. That's Jack Wells that we can see in front. Cars probably wanting to be relatively trimmed out for this long front straightaway to get a move, and it doesn't look like he's going to have it this time into the Swift 4-5 section. We did see Carter Lundy had fastest lap of the race. Where is he actually? How far back did he fall after that opening incident?
I'm going to try to... very impressive, Joe. He's in 12th right now. The number 4 car is in 12th, so directly behind Karthik Pai, who were riding on board with it. And you see this direct train. Look at this replay here of the first lap. What happened to Shady Ahmad in the 10-11 section? That's tough. You know, it does get narrow down there. I'm not surprised to see kind of a car forced off of the racetrack if you're trying to go too wide. Look at this battle. This is an intense line here.
That's a lot of cars, and we're going to get some side-by-side down the main straight as well. Farron Grau going to be racing against Andrew Petty, and he's going to have a little bit of a nose ahead. In fact, I think maybe he's going to see, not just Petty, but that's Mueller that he went by in the yellow machine. It's Petty who gets by him as well in the black and red that we're looking at now, riding on board with Farron Grau, continuing to lead this train. Everybody desperately trying to set themselves up for something up into turn 7 here, but nothing doing, although a few of them take a peek.
Oh, Mueller kind of stacked them all up. Now we're going to have kind of a choke point going down the back straightaway. You see Karthik Pai taking advantage. And now we're also going to see it go side by side between Lundy and Mueller, 3 wide down the back straightaway. Who's going to come out in front? Banging side by side there through 10 and 11. Now you got to rejoin, more contact with Lundy. It is a madhouse here at Portland.
There's Jack Wells with the initial off, and he almost got into the side of poor Carter Lundy, who got shoved off the track again, and thankfully was able to come back. Now he's on the attack, trying to see if he can reclaim that spot that he lost from Julius Mueller. Looks like he will get that as he overtakes him down the main straight. Meanwhile, that's Josh Brain in behind in the Valvoline machine, continuing this train of frantic cars, all jockeying for position here early in this race.
It was crazy stuff going down the back straightaway there, 3 wide, and I mean, contact for sure, side pod to side pod between those cars, but somehow none of them spun it around, and now trouble putting the power down. That was Jack Wells coming out of turn number 7, just got anxious on the right foot and spun up those rear tires and didn't get that drive forward down the straightaway.
By the way, got a little bit of a chirp from Barry West, says he is indeed watching. Whoa, is in the background. That was Bjorn Ackerman going off track. He'll get back on, thankfully, without hitting anything, as Aaron Blair as well off circuit. And that seems to be a common theme I think we're going to see repeated a lot here off the chicane at 10 and 11 there, back at the back straight. Meanwhile, Mickey Friesen. This is going to be a battle of the late breakers with Seamus Power coming down into turn 4, and I think Power is going to get him, managing to move around the outside. Nice move. Back to my original point, Barry West says he hopes to be back next week. That's if his nurse allows.
Oh, yeah, you know, be nice to that nurse over there. Maybe just ask for some food on occasion, and make sure you get the big cat all fixed up so that way you can get the claws back out here on the racetrack as Farron Grau makes a move around Jack David Spickett, I believe, and that is up into 6th place. You had mentioned kind of the cars going off on the end of the back straightaway there in that 10-11 section. You are going so fast down this arcing back straightaway in that high speed, call it a high speed chicane. you actually don't need to kind of slow down much at all, especially in these high downforce machines. We see it all the time in the real world IndyCar stuff. If you go too fast, you're pretty much just throwing yourself off of the end of the racetrack at the end there.
And there is a tire barrier that can easily collect you if you go a little too hot, but most drivers do seem to be able to find their way back on. Pepe Fuentes in third position, up 2 from where he started, looking at maybe taking a second place. He's starting to become a bit of a threat to the 10.
You're right, and he's kind of hung out in this third place and slowly hunted down our leaders, hasn't let him get away too far, and I think that also Freckleton is doing a tremendous job to stay in touch with Togo Hisada. And traditionally, Joe, here at Portland, especially the no chicane layout, this is a low downforce racetrack. However, it is still relatively new to iRacing and new to these Lotus 79 machines, so the digital version might not act 100% like the real-world version. I'm almost seeing a mix-up in downforce settings because it's great to have it right here through the slow-speed stuff. And it almost seems like these cars kind of rubber band down the straightaways, and it might not be as important as I'd think.
I love tracks like this, though, that really force the drivers to maybe have a bit of a compromise, because either could be fast. In the meantime, let's take a look at Nicky Friesen, who you can see from the 0 kilometers per hour did not survive whatever happened here. Oh, and the car gets sideways. He gets clipped once and then twice. And unfortunately, it looks like the damage was enough that he has had to come in for those repairs, since it seems like he is now stationary. Whoever he hit also had some front wing damage.
Now it's into that same turn 4 section, so definitely a busy area. And Dylan Freckleton under pressure, 3 wide. James Berry's going to take it all the way up into what is third place. So something happened while we were watching that replay, as these two are still duking it out side by side here. Looks like Olenchik's going to come out in third place. So after James Berry made the huge lunge on the straightaway, somehow this white number 16 got on the podium.
Something has happened to our purple friend, unfortunately. So Freckleton down to 5th, lost a number of positions quite quickly. Is now 5 seconds off the lead, when before he was probably about within a second there. In the meantime, James Berry on Christoph Olenchik is going to have to stay behind down through 10 and 11. Maybe he could set himself up for the exit of the final hairpin.
I went back on my machine, and Dylan Freckleton's mistake was a very simple one. We had talked about how fast that chicane is off at the end of the back straightaway. He simply overstepped the limit, went off on driver's left, thankfully kept the car pointed straight, and here we go, another battle between these two of Berry and Olenchik, and the inside prevails this time.
There's the replay. Oh, yep. Unfortunately, too ambitious through that last chicane. And that was costly coming down the main straight, where you need that grip to have the speed. It's a late lunge coming down the inside of Berry. Freckleton almost has the job done, but now the momentum goes back in favor of James. But he's on the outside of the track. It's going to be a longer distance, but the speed prevails, and he will get back into P4.
If anything, it was Farron Grau. That second red car in line really took a look down the inside of Freckleton as he was kind of playing defensive. So now we've got him lined up 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, all going down the front straightaway here. Can't ask for much more out of a podium battle as we ride with the caboose on the train, Farron Grau. And I actually have to give credit to kind of the next group of cars, the next handful as well, because directly behind Farron Grau, just out of slipstream range, is that second pack.
That is going to be important if they could get that slipstream to just make that connection. Because right now, Pepe Fuentes about 1.5 seconds off. I wondered if he's had a win so far. I'm seeing a 0 next to his name, but he's starting to slip off the back of Hisada. You could maybe deny him that maiden win here at a newer track for the Lotus 79s. I think they raced it last season. I'll have to double check to see if they did or not. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Grau, watching Freckleton to make sure that he doesn't slip up out of the corner this time, and he doesn't. In fact, Freckleton looks close to Berry.
Let's see what can happen here. I think that James Berry has a tremendous amount of minimum downforce, I should say, because his car looks hooked up on a straight line, while Freckleton, I think, might be carrying a little bit more downforce. Here's that image of that second pack. It's Andrew Petty kind of leading this group of cars. Carter Lundy, JDS, Karthik Pai. I think that white and baby blue number 4 is anxious to get by. Joe, wouldn't that be something else to see Carter Lundy here make a move going down into turn 7 to get his way back up into the front of this race?
He tried to make a move, and then right back underneath him, Petty took it right back. Meanwhile, Jack David Spickett, almost has a chance to make it 3 wide, but he gets blocked off outside for Carter Lundy. Oh, and I think he hit the wall a little bit as he got forced into there. Wheel is off the wagon. There's no saving that one. He is going to have to come down pit lane.
Oh, man. So frustrating for Carter Lundy. I think he's going to try to keep going with 3 wheels out here, you know. I mean, it might be fast enough, but the only problem, Joe, is Portland, majority right-hand turns. There's not very many left-handers.
That's going to make a very difficult life, I think, for Carter Lundy. And I would have thought that maybe that was a netcode bit of damage, but it's still off. And yeah, he's finally got the hint here, and he's off the course. So meanwhile,
I feel for him. It's still cracking off up here, but you saw how aggressive he was driving, Joe. I think it was only kind of a matter of time. He was not taking any more prisoners. He was going through people at that point. It wasn't overly aggressive, just a little unfortunate how it unfolded.
Yeah, he got a little squeezed, I think, in that situation, too. So a bit of a shame. Meanwhile, Dylan Freckleton still chasing on James Barry. And as we saw, Barry seems to be quite fast, so this might be difficult. Let's see if he once again drops as we also watch Christoph here on Farron Grau.
Going down the front straightaway here, just trying to sit in the slipstream, gain whatever ground you can on those cars directly in front of you. This is that battle for what is 8th place. Jack David Spickett in that Pepsi machine trying to overtake Andrew Petty, but Andrew's been doing a terrific job. I'm sure he's trying to catch up to this lead pack, but it can be tough to do when those mirrors are filled with cars trying to get by.
Just a bad exit from Karthik. He's dropping off a bit, but he's going to start to pull that slipstream on JDS. How much will it help him? Because as you can see, not the longest of straightaways here, just enough to get that speed going, and then a big lift coming through 10 and 11, trying to set that car up. Oh, that's a slide up ahead by Petty as the yaw starts to just turn that car sideways off the corner. Now it's JDS who's got the run.
And he definitely has a strong run accelerating through the chicane section, already up over 170 miles an hour. And actually, JDS might have been a little bit unsighted there. I saw him actually drive the car off of the track on driver's left there, kind of had to yank it back on by surprise. So what was a good run down the front straightaway, now he's looking towards turn number 7, almost got the nose up along that rear axle. Going to try to do an over-under, try to really launch out of what is turn number 7, but somehow Andrew Petty able to put the power to the ground.
It's quite a fight. I think there's going to be another go at things. Hopefully cars will stay out of the wall. No, he starts to pull back out of it. Maybe thinks it's not worth it. It is, as we've seen, quite dangerous to go wheel to wheel through 10 and 11.
And here's what he was looking for, is him to just drive it in too deep into turn number 12. So you can overstep the limit in 10 and 11, but keep it on the racetrack. Unfortunately, it compromises turn 12, which we just saw Andrew Petty happen. And now Jack David Spickett just trying to keep it on the racetrack while Andrew Petty's just kind of muscling him over on the inside. JDS still on the inside of the racetrack, clear of him going into turn number 5.
As he has to back up, he shuts the door immediately. I don't blame him on that one. I swear they were interlocking wheels in that situation. That's how close it was, as Josh Brain loses the rear of the car, and that is unfortunately going to be a full 360 just about.
You know what? Andrew Petty forced his way back to the inside of turn number 7 and grabbed that position away, and now he boxes in Karthik Pai, who had a tremendous run. JDS forceful in turn number 10. Can he keep it on the racetrack? Got to woe it up here for turn number 12. And thankfully does, gets the launch out of the corner, and now he's going to be watching his mirrors for that slipstream, that red and black number 8, now that he finally cleared it.
I know Portland is known for being a bit hippie-ish, but there is no love and peace out here between these drivers.
You could say they're hip checking.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it for sure. They are leaving no quarter whatsoever out on the track. Gabriel Martinez has now joined the fray thanks to how hard they're battling. And Nick Thyssen, how about this? 16 positions gained. I think he'd like 4 more here.
You're right. He's in that number 3 car, just kind of creeping up in the background, and he's got plenty of laps to get these passes done. I think what's surprising here is that Andrew Petty, he's yet to let go of Jack David Spickett. I thought that this Pepsi machine was going to kind of run away a little bit, and I think I just saw a little bit of an answer of why. I think that Andrew is running a little bit less downforce, kind of keeping him in touch down these long straightaways, but through that high-speed chicane section, I don't know if you caught that, the Pepsi machine had incredible confidence and just lunged forward, almost like a slot car through that section.
Yeah, and this is where I'm thinking we might see him drop off a little bit because he couldn't close up as much as he wanted to down the main straight. This is that twisty bit is Matej wheel to wheel with Bjorn Ackerman. Ackerman round the outside, but just can't hang tough to keep the inside into the left-hander here. But he does force a mistake. And will this give him a chance on Matej coming around the hairpin?
Bjorn trying to square up that corner. It's so inviting to try to kind of dive it down the inside to square it up on the exit, right? To really capitalize on the over-under. But through turn number 7, it's actually pretty flat on that exit. So you have to kind of roll the regular racing line and just kind of hope you get the bite off of the corner that's better than the car in front of you. Unfortunately, Ackerman didn't get that grip as this is the battle between 13th here. This is Marsteller. I'm sorry, this is a little bit forward. Yeah, this is 13th Marsteller and Matej. Yeah, so Marsteller and Wells actually there in the blue car battling for that 12th position. I think that's lap traffic in front of them. You could see that car slowing earlier, trying to stay out of the way. That's Challoner. Not the Challoner that works in iRacing. It's spelled differently, though. Meanwhile, coming back on the backstretch. Oh, we've jumped up to Nick Thyssen in the meantime. Looks like Petty. Oh, Petty has run away. What has happened here? He's no longer with this group. I don't think that it's Petty has run away. I think that Petty has fallen off of his group and into this third pack, unfortunately. So Nick Thyssen still trying to get around Karthik Pai, Andrew Petty in front, and then Jack David Spickett is now, call it, what is it, about 4 seconds? Am I reading that right? No, you know what? I'm confused on timing and scoring. Petty is now trying to pass Jack David Spickett into turn number 4.
Yeah, and he is up the road a little bit there, trying to go around the inside. Spickett goes off course. Can he get it slowed in time? Contact between them. Petty gets spun, facing the wrong way. It all unraveled. And again, a driver who was being very aggressive found himself at, a bit at victim. So now it's Matej. It's actually fighting with him and sneaks through. I saw some contact that was off screen that Petty made even with Karthik Pai at one point.
Got to give props to our producer because he definitely confirmed that Andrew Petty has now fallen down the order. I was just a little bit early on the call. He's fighting back. That is the battle between himself and Matej. So I think that Petty, after losing those few positions, has got his visor back down and says, you know what? I'm faster than everybody. I'm back here racing. I'm going to say peace out. I'm going to go catch everybody again.
Petty is pedaling, that is for sure. Meanwhile, back with Nick Thyssen here battling for what is now going to be 8th place. He's caught this group. He's already gotten by Martinez. He's working on Karthik Pai. And then, of course, we know Jack David Spickett leading this group. Look at the cars squirming around. Yeah, I'd say a number of them are lacking downforce out there.
That left-hander, that slow left-hander before it feeds into turn number 7, I think it's, call it the most technical turn, call it 6 and 7, the most technical complex on this racetrack because it feels like you're crawling through that sector 1 here and you really just have to be patient with the throttle. Joe, the other thing is that through that same sector I'm talking about, you're actually in between gears. You can roll 3rd gear, but the car probably wants to be in 2nd gear just for that little bit of a squirt of acceleration.
And appropriately for the Pacific Northwest, there is a tiny chance of rain being predicted, but I think the race is going to be over by the time we get to that, and it's very minuscule. So not expecting to see it out there, and especially wouldn't expect it to affect the race. Togo Hisada, with 15 laps to go, make that 14 very shortly, has extended his gap over Fuentes by about 3 seconds. It looks like he's got this under decent control.
He does. He's been in control ever since he overtook for the lead past Dylan Freckleton. And unfortunately, as a competitor, this is not what you want to see. Is our leader just comfortable out front, running away at a very good pace? His last lap time, a 57.70. It is also the fastest lap of the race. Pepe Fuentes back here, a quarter of a second slower per lap. So Togo Hisada just completely in the groove and on rails.
Things getting tight between Grau and Freckleton. Too tight. Freckleton is the latest to go off course. And this seemed like a theme throughout the Lotus 49s as well. That run coming through 4, 5, and 6 just seemed to always cost drivers if they try to go wheel to wheel, and he spins a second time.
And, you know, it actually affected Jack David Spickett there. We didn't see it on camera, but last lap, JDS had a half spin in this corner, turn number 7. Somehow was able to kind of do a full formula drift and have everybody avoid. But things have not only gone from bad for worse for Dylan Freckleton, but also Jack David Spickett.
Bit of a shame. Two drivers that looking like they were going to have a good race, a good recovery in the case of Freckleton there. Big slide off the corner for Martinez, leaving 2 stripes of rubber on the drag strip. And now he's going to try and use the slipstream of Nick to go around the outside. I wonder if there's going to be grip there this time off the racing line, because last time we saw a driver wind up in the grass when this happened. No, he'll keep it on the course, but he doesn't get the pass done.
Usually through turns 4 and 5, there's 3 right-hander apexes, so typically the shallow line, the inside line, prevails through that section of the racetrack, and then call it through 6 and 7. That's where things can kind of get interesting with what chess moves you want to play and parking the car where. Is looks like Mostel are right on the rear wing of Jack Wells in this number 14 car, but Jack going to lead them through this 10 and 11 section. They both stay off of those heavy alligator curbs, just kind of putting it on the red and white, but not upsetting it off of the back end here. And now this is the opportunity that Mostler was looking for, the heavy slipstream down the front straightaway. Jack Wells already going defensive, and if anything, look at how good that car handles down the front straightaway. It is pulling away.
He was tucked right underneath the rear wing, so no wonder Daniel is having trouble getting by. Jack Wells has a rocket ship underneath him. That's going to be frustrating without a doubt. He'll need to try and be strong through this portion to maybe get through around here. And even if he does, man, the speed that we saw out of Jack, I wonder if he'd just go right past him on the straight anyways.
Exactly. I think that Mostler's in a really difficult position here. So you're gaining, probably about here. You start to lose on the top end, and then you rapidly approach these corners, which you've got more grip, and this car is parked directly in front of you. You say, hey, get out of my way, get out of my way. And then right about here, you're like, okay, no, yeah, you can be back in front. Just tow me along on the straightaway.
And he's doing that, but it just seems to fade, like you said, right at the very end of it. He loses ground to that car somehow at around 170 miles an hour, which seems to be where Jack Wells is topping out. What about Martinez versus Thyssen versus Spickett? JDS no doubt wanting to try and make up for that loss, kind of being forced out of where he wanted to place the car by the incident from Freckleton. That's a bit of a mistake out of Nick. He's going to be slightly off the apex through the hairpin. Can we see JDS get a move done? I don't think so. He's just a bit too far back.
I'd be curious to see what the community thinks about this Portland International race, because it's got a lot of argy-bargy, right? We've seen a fair amount of contact, but the only reason why that contact is being made is because there's been so many passing opportunities, right? Great drafting, great side-by-side, and unfortunately some people kind of get pushed off the racetrack in those situations. Looks like Matei having some problems on the end of the back straightaway going into turn number 12. Got damage, going to be bringing it in. But this is a fast racetrack, right? It's very flat. Consider it like a flat Lime Rock Park without that elevation there. I wonder how the drivers are liking it.
I'm enjoying it from our perspective, but yeah, it might be a different story. And we could see Matei actually missing a wheel there coming off the final few corners. So I wonder if it was a similar incident to what we saw with our pole sitter there, Carter Lundy. Meanwhile, wow, I'm kind of shocked here. Gernot Frische, only 18th position right now. He's not really gained a lot of spots from when he lost it early in the race. So I'm not sure what is causing him to struggle so much here today. I do know from our previous broadcast, chatting with him, he has said he tends to not like draft tracks.
I know that Gernot is also one of the more polite drivers. He's got a terrific run here on the number 19 car, going to go right by on drivers, right? I took a look at the cockpit shot. The steering wheel's pointed straight. All of the wings don't appear to have any sort of damage on it. I wonder if Gernot just lost a ton of track position and is simply racing very fair and very clean on his way back up.
Oof, that's a tight little battle between Mueller and Wilson. Wilson tried to get underneath down through turn 5, but was chopped off. Now he has a big slide. Has to catch it. Aaron Blair could have an opportunity to pick up on that, depending on what exit we see. Out onto the back straightaway. They're going to stay somewhat equidistant, so not looking at a pass happening this time.
Also, since we were talking about Gernot as we watched these 3 cars directly behind him, I mean, I'm not trying to throw him in the trash over here, but he only qualified 10th, and he's back up to 17th after getting knocked off the racetrack. So I think in terms of relative speed, yeah, we are used to seeing him a little bit more forward, but in comparison to this incredibly stacked field, I think it's an all right run.
That's a good point. Meanwhile, Thyssen and Spickett went wheel to wheel, coming through 4 and 5 once again. That was a shallow entry from Nick. Jack trying to see if he can use that to his advantage, get a little bit more speed here, but around the curve, back straightaway along the pond, it's just not meant to be. Needs to be closer than that.
Nick Thyssen just continuing his charge up. Remember, you had said it was plus 16. Well, it's plus 19 now and had a huge wag of the tail through turn number 12, but somehow was able to manage that slide, stand on the gas, and get it driving forward down the straightaway here. So he's up into what is 8th place as Jack David Spickett is trying to hang on to a top 10 here today.
There's a lot of drivers in the top 10 that have made up an incredible amount of positions. Martinez up 9, Pai is up 8, and then 5th, 4th, and 3rd are all up 4 positions. That's more than I expected, honestly, as we come back to Aaron Blair fighting with Julius Mueller.
Everybody I am seeing inside the top 11 has net gained positions from where they started, which means there's going to be one unlucky driver, and that was Carter Lundy that we've highlighted earlier today. But you're right. If you want to be in top split, first of all, you got to have the iRating to make the cut in here. And then you better be ready to race if you want to be up at the front of this 79 pack.
Yeah, so Lundy, you mentioned. Timothy Reed also was up towards the front. Julius Mueller has lost 14 positions. There's been a few big scalps, unfortunately for them, that have tripped up in this race. James Berry, not one of them. He's looking for a potential podium.
I just want to put it into perspective as we watch, call it 3rd place and 2nd place here, how impressive Togo Hisada is. I know that it's 4.5 seconds out front, and we've seen Pauli Partonen go out to 10, 15-second leads. We've seen Togo Hisada do the same, but this is a rapid racetrack where you don't get huge chunks of time. Togo Hisada, last lap of 57.35. You see it pop up on the top of the screen, fastest lap of the race. Compare that to the car that we're watching right here, nearly a half second faster. Fuentes just did a 57.7. So in order for Togo to have that performance level and do it consistently lap after lap after lap, it's just impressive to watch this guy.
I think we might also have a new driver on the podium in Barry. I just looked up his results, and I don't see any podiums so far for the number 9. So this is going to be perhaps a career best in this not league, but racing series that we have here. Hisada coming around to 4 to go now as he exits onto the drag strip. A little bit more traffic in front of him, but it hasn't seemed to have affected him as he's already lapped a couple cars so far in this race. 25 of them still on that lead lap.
Freckleton trying to salvage what he can today. Kind of got muscled off of the racetrack about 2/3 of the way through after his initial little mistake to lose that lead back. Andrew Petty still struggling with that car a little bit, putting the power down coming out of turn number 12. Certainly giving Freckleton an eyeful of how much he can hang that thing out on the loose side, and kind of does the serpentine down the front straightaway here, just trying to break whatever slipstream he can from Dylan, as that purple machine actually a little bit easy on the brakes going into the corner, kind of giving up the first half to stay tucked up right underneath the wing through turn number 5, and now we feed through turn number 6. This is the corner that you're in between gears, trying to put the power down, a lunge down the inside, a 7 from Dylan Freckleton, but the over-under from Andrew Petty gets him back side by side.
They just about come together. I think they managed to avoid it, even though we saw a little bit of bodywork come off. Not too shocking, because Andrew Petty is starting to build a bit of a reputation from this race of getting very close to other drivers. He'll hold on to that 12th spot.
And we're rapidly catching. I think that there was just an incident there in front of us with Mostler and maybe even Jack David Spickett, because all of a sudden those two cars that we were just watching gained a couple spots.
Yeah, I think Jack had to use the emergency runoff that they do have around the exit there of 11. So.
It was, yeah, and you're right. JDS had to avoid. And directly behind maybe as well, Mostler did the same thing. This is a heads-up move from JDS, actually, to go down the drag strip. That's probably the fastest way to rejoin the racetrack at speed.
We got to go back to Petty, I think, because they are once again side by side in the same spot as before, and Petty is off in a big way and into the wall. Thus ends an eventful race for Andrew Petty, and he's and Freckleton's now taking the runoff there. I wonder if he's damaged.
I was maybe hearing that Freckleton has a black flag out there, so I wonder if he just kind of got knocked out from those incident point limits. And man, both of those drivers, I think that they were just trying to fight tooth and nail for whatever that they could, and unfortunately with 2 laps to go, it just kind of fell apart.
Well, they're going to have to maybe try to make good over some granola or something afterwards. It's going to be a bit of frustration from both of them after that incident. Seamus Power fighting with Aaron Blair. Power's going to be around the outside coming into turn 7, unless he chops down across. He does. A little bit of contact once again with Blair, and now Josh Brain could have a chance to pick up on that.
So Seamus did a good job to escape the battle, but you see on the back foot there, Aaron Blair is still just trying to defend his Togo Hisada. Look at how fast these laps click off. This is already going on to the back straightaway, and he's already taken the white flag. Just complete control once he got in the lead.
Yeah, before we came live, our producer said 38 laps. This is going to be a long one. And I said, no. This will go by fast. These cars get around here incredibly quickly. And the quickest of them is Togo Hisada. It's not the biggest margin we've seen, but it is definitely a confident one as he takes another victory here to extend his points lead in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series.
Nicely done there from Togo. It looks like Pepe Fuente is going to be crossing the line in second place, and here comes James Berry in that red number 9 to round out your podium.
Just an awesome run for him. I hope he comes and chats with us. Would love to hear his thoughts. Meanwhile, Pi with a good race up 8 positions for 6. And Thyssen there in the background did wind up with 19 positions gained. Pretty sure he is our hard charger for this race.
Watch the rest of these cars feed their way around this PIR racetrack and take this checkered flag at start finish. This is a good battle here. Seamus Power going to lead Aaron Blair. And Josh Brain able to steal it away. No, I'm sorry, it was just timing and scoring. Mueller is still going to edge it out over Brain, over Gallus.
You see 21 cars finish all of our 38 laps here today, but foremost amongst them was Togo Hisada in the end, coming away with another victory and putting himself farther away from Taylor Lane, who I don't believe was here today to try and catch up to him. In the meantime, Pepe Fuentes did come home with second. James Berry with what we believe is his first ever podium. Christoph Olenjek is going to be fourth, as Farron Grau finishes fifth. Karthik Pai, like we said, number of spots gained to finish in sixth. Gabriel Martinez, I think one more than him, up from 16th to 7th. And Nick Thyssen from 27th to 8th. Jack Wells finished in 9th. And JDS, despite a lot of action out there, still gains, going from 13th to 10th.
And then in 11th spot is Daniel Mosteler in 12th. A great run from Bjorn Ackerman. I know we kind of looked at him in the middle of the race, but +9 for Bjorn to finish up in 12th. Taylor Lane +10 to finish in 13th. Gernot Friesche back here in 14th. Jamie Wilson in 15th. Seamus Power 16th. Aaron Blair finishing in 17th. Julius Mueller in 18th, Josh Brain in 19th, and Daniel Gallus in 20th.
21st goes to Ryan Turcotte. Last one on the lead lap, Javier Mosquera, 22nd. Ian Haycox in 23rd. Dylan Freckleton, not where I think his pace showed he could have been, only 24th. Gary Weaver, 25th. And then you get to our DNFs today. Petty, Reed, Ahmad, Matei, Challoner, Lundy, and Friesen. That was action-packed out there with quite a lot of elbows out racing. I do see a bit of chatter post-race amongst some of the drivers to try and work out some opinions on that one. But yeah, Joey, again, it seems like this place just does not disappoint.
It's a fast racetrack, and I try to draw parallels wherever I can. And everybody's raced Lime Rock on iRacing, right? I think that if you like Lime Rock Park, you will like Portland International Raceway. I highly urge you to buy the content. I'm a little biased because, like I said, I grew up racing out here. I learned how to race Spec Miatas out here. I drove a ton of laps around this place, whether it be chicane, no chicane. So I'm a little biased, but if you like to learn vehicle dynamics, vehicle car control, I think that this is a fantastic racetrack because it's flat. It has third gear corners that feed left, right, so you get kind of the weight transfer. You get to learn what a car can and can't do, and then not to mention off of the end of the back straightaway, you want to talk about testing your limits. That fast 10 and 11 section, it really doesn't get much faster than that. Of course, you've got corners like the kink or the uphill S's at VIR, but Portland, that 10 and 11 section is fast.
We saw that a lot today. While I've got an opportunity, I do want to mention I got one more message from Barry West. Apparently, he doesn't just want to be nice to the nurse so that she'll help him heal, but so that he doesn't get stuck on the couch, if that tells you who this nurse is. But yeah, again, best wishes to Barry out there. It doesn't look like we've got any interviews today, unfortunately. So I think we're going to wrap things up a little bit.
And you know, I usually Togo comes in here, but I do know it's a little bit later over in Japan than typically the Lotus 49s kind of are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it was a great race, and Pepe Fuentes, James Berry, congrats trying to keep up with Togo today.
Indeed. So, want to give a few thank yous before we go, including to the community themselves for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And of course, to our team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Our next race will be at Brands Hatch. That'll be Sunday, July 27th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, right now, I believe we have the ending of the majors that was going on simultaneously. Joey, thank you for guiding us along to through this fantastic track. You excited for Brands Hatch next week?
Absolutely. You talk about another classic racetrack and one that the driver's probably a little bit more familiar with. Brands Hatch is going to be exciting. And I mean, we had some action going down to what is turn number 1 here today at Portland. I mean, turn number 1 at Brands Hatch, that's a whole different story.
A little bit more elevation change there, that is for sure. In the meantime, again, thank you for joining us. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.